Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Zone Blitz. As always, I'm Vince Miller, joined by my co-host Ashton Overholt. And we've been on a bit of a break here. It's been a while since we had a pod, but we have a lot to talk about. I think just had some semifinal games. I know those were pretty exciting for you, at least one of them,
Yeah.
uh, and also some New Year's Six games. I think we'll also probably get into previewing the national title game. I don't know if we'll do a separate pod for that. So just jump right into it, Ashton. Your Georgia Bulldogs are going to the national title game. What were your thoughts on that game?
Yes. Okay. So I was one of those who was not happy about the quarterback situation. Obviously, right? We've discussed this at length. Stetson Bennett played incredibly well. He really did. He made all the throws that we didn't think he could make. He stretched the ball down the field. He threw like he made really good decisions. He really only had a couple of bad decisions all game. They didn't even cost him. Like it all worked out. Like I don't. How is he so different? Like I don't understand how different he was. Like against like from the Michigan to the Alabama game. Like that was just a totally different quarterback. And I understand he had 3 weeks to prepare for Michigan or 4 weeks almost. But like what? How does that make sense? Please help that make sense for me because I haven't been able to figure that out.
I'm not sure. I feel like he's a good quarterback when you have
He's not. He's not a good quarterback.
when you have the clear talent advantage.
Yeah.
He's perfectly capable, and he might be perfectly capable of winning a title. I don't know. Like we'll see. Georgia
Right.
is currently a 3-point favorite against Alabama. But yeah, I guess talking more about the Michigan game, it was this just as simple as like Georgia and Michigan. We talked about this some in our preview. Like they're pretty similar teams, but Georgia
Yes.
has 5 stars where Michigan has 4 stars.
Okay, maybe. But like here's the counterpoint. Like Michigan's defense is good. Like I thought
Yeah,
with Hutchinson and Ojabo are NFL guys. Like they are. They're absolute NFL guys. And how like they might have a better defense than Alabama does. Michigan's defense might be better than Alabama. Alabama doesn't have a great defense. Like how does it all just work out? Like I don't understand how it just all worked out there. And it did. Like everything Georgia did worked. They could run the ball effectively. Georgia threw the ball for over 10 yards per attempt. Like that's crazy high. Like that's crazy high. 10 yards per attempt is massive. Like you're just not going to lose games when you do that. You're not going to lose those games. And Michigan has a good defense. Like that's the thing. Like I don't understand. For me, it was all about Georgia's offense in this game. It was a whole different like Georgia's offensive line played exceptionally well
yeah,
against those NFL pass rushers. That's I mean they really did. They neutralized them, and then the times they did get home, Stetson was able to escape or yeah like make a play. He was able to make some plays in crunch time. And honestly, the game was over. Like after the game was over when Burton caught that 57-yarder and it was 27-3. The game was over. Like there
yeah.
was no chance that Michigan was going to score 28 points on that defense. It just was not going to happen. So like I just don't understand. I don't get it at all. I've watched a lot of football. I've watched as much football this year as anybody. I would dare anyone to try to watch more football than me. I think I watch a ton. And I don't understand it. I don't understand how a team can be so different 4 weeks later. I don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, I do think Michigan may have had a slightly better defense than Alabama overall for this season, but they maybe are more talented at Alabama at the ends, but that's it. Like, can you name another position where Michigan's actually better than Alabama
I mean, I'd say
defensively?
safety probably. I think
Hmm.
Daxton Hill is as good as anyone that Alabama has. Jordan Battle maybe for Alabama would you'd maybe say, but like Alabama doesn't have a good secondary. Josh Jobe is out, like he's not playing anymore. So like they're good. Alabama's
Yeah.
not bad, but Michigan held Ohio State to 27 points. That's a feat. That's impressive because no one's doing that. Like
Yeah.
Ohio State scores points, and yeah, I don't know. I just it was so confusing to me to see that happen. I expected a close game. I thought Georgia could win, and then like you realize like early on like Georgia had all the answers. I think Todd Monken, Georgia's offensive coordinator, I thought was exceptional. Like I thought he called almost a perfect game. Literally everything worked for Georgia, and it honestly the score could have been even more lopsided. I think that late garbage time touchdown by Michigan was able to keep it close. But okay, so just the game was a blowout, right? And we're I don't understand it, but whatever. Like we're gonna move past that. How like Georgia would have probably done that to almost any other team. Like
Yeah.
I don't think that you can just say that Michigan had a bad game. Like I don't think people piling on Michigan, or I don't think that's fair. I don't.
Well, I think there's two different conversations here. One, of course, there's always going to be people. Anytime there's a blowout,
Yeah.
there's always those people on Twitter that are like, "Well, they did not deserve to be there." Are you telling me that there are four teams that are evenly matched at the top? No, no, that's
Right.
not how college football works.
Right.
Michigan absolutely deserved to be there. Same as shoot, Michigan State and Notre Dame and Washington and like all of these teams made playoffs and deservingly. Doesn't mean they were one of the top four teams necessarily, or especially not a top two team.
Right.
Michigan deserved to be there, and I hate
Yeah.
Michigan as much as most non-Ohio State fans.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
like, I'm like, yeah, it was wonderful for me as a Notre Dame fan to see Michigan get boat raced.
Right.
But that's what it was. Like Georgia was just flat out better. I thought
Yeah.
like they were just
Yeah.
clearly more talented
Yeah.
at most of the positions on the field, and yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with Michigan deserving to be there or not, in my opinion.
No, I think that's right. I think for me, this season still for Michigan is a successful year. Like I think this is a really good year, and I understand that like they did get hammered by Georgia in that last game. And that's going to be your lasting memory of this team. But I think that's a little unfair because of all the criticism that Harbaugh had. I mean, there were people that didn't. You were one of them that were not big Harbaugh fans going into this, and I mean, like there were a few of us Harbaugh defenders out there. I'm not saying I was the only one, but that like I actually thought highly of Harbaugh and the job that he did there, and I thought like at some point they would get over the hump, and like this was the year they beat Ohio State, they won the Big Ten, and I mean this is like that's a really good year for Michigan. That's a great year for Michigan. Like you have to love that. They finished 12-2, and they were the Big Ten winners. Like and you beat up on Ohio State at your place, and like that was awesome. So like for me, I think Harbaugh like has changed as a coach. Like I think he's a different guy now. Like I think the last 2 months for him have changed the narrative on Jim Harbaugh, and I think he has now elevated himself into a higher status. I believe.
So, just for this game specifically, do you think Michigan stuck with Cade McNamara too long? Like, I don't think, regardless of what they did, like there was no chance they were going to win that game. But I think if
No.
I'd been a Michigan fan, I'd been wanting JJ McCarthy in there a little more.
Uh, I mean, whatever. It wasn't going to work. Like, I
Yeah,
think it's the same as Florida trying to play Richardson instead of Emory Jones
yeah.
when Florida played this Georgia defense. I mean, it was kind of the same scenario where they're trying to, hey, we have a younger, maybe more talented quarterback. Like, no, let's just not expose him to that mess. Let's not try to break his will here, because that Georgia defense was terrific. Like there was nothing that Michigan did that was surprising to them. Um, I think that's probably what I was most surprised at from the defensive perspective for Georgia. I'm a Georgia fan. I look at it through my eyes, and I was worried about the receiver number one. I'm blanking on his name, but
Jamison Williams.
well, no, the
Oh,
Michigan's
for
receiver
Michigan. Sorry.
for Michigan. Yeah, he actually had a touchdown late in that game, but he like Anthony, I believe is his name, Antrell Anthony.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
was worried that it would be play action and they would take shots to him. And because like that was how I saw that game going. That's how I saw Michigan scoring points in that game. And I think that's something that maybe we're not talking about enough is that like why they didn't. And I think part of it obviously was Georgia's pass rush and like the discipline that Georgia had to not go for the play action because Georgia was able to stop the run with literally four guys. Like they didn't need more than four people to stop the run. And so like if you can stop the run with four or five guys, you do not even have to worry about like you can't get beat over the top then because your safeties don't have to come down and try to stop the run. Like Georgia safeties played back all night long, and I think took away that deep threat. Even though Michigan, I would have liked to see Michigan at least try to force a little bit more. Like what did you have to lose there, especially when it was 17-3 or 20-3, because it was 17-3 for a bit, 20-3 for a little bit before Georgia scored another touchdown, in which case the game was over. But if Michigan gets a touchdown and it's 20-10 going into halftime, suddenly that feels like a lot better. Like that feels like at least a
Sure.
game that you're competitive in. And yeah, and it just it didn't work. It didn't work. And then they gave up the late touchdown there late in the first half to Jermaine Burton. Like we said, that pretty much sealed it. The game was pretty much over at halftime.
Right. I would agree. So where does Michigan go from here, do you think? They brought in a decent recruiting class, but nothing earth-shattering. Do you think this was kind of a peak for Michigan under Harbaugh, or do you think they can actually maybe compete for titles in the future?
Oh, I don't know. Okay, so here just I know you're going to be against this, so this will be fun. But is there a way that anyone south of Kentucky, or sorry, is there a way anyone north of Kentucky has a chance to win a national title like anymore? Like legitimate question.
You don't think Ohio State can do it?
They haven't since 2014, and they've
That's not
gotten
very long ago.
right. They've done it twice. They've done it twice since 2000.
Sure. Yeah.
It's happened 2 times in the last 20 years, and I think it's only getting more lopsided. So it's happened. Ohio State did it in 2002, and they did it in 2014, and then you had Southern Cal like win a couple, but like not really going to count them. Oregon was close, right? Like Oregon actually almost beat Ohio State there in 2014. But like really, other than that, like what? Like I don't know. Like I mean, Notre Dame got there a couple of times. Like they got beat up in 2012, and then lost a couple times in the playoff. Like is for Michigan, I don't think the bar should be. Okay, that's the reason I bring it up. I don't think the bar for Michigan should be championship.
Sure.
I don't think it should be.
Michigan has won in 50 years, and that was a split one, 97.
Right. That's not the bar for them. Like that's
Yeah.
not what they're playing for. And like I understand maybe they don't want to hear that, and maybe they don't want to accept that. But the fact of the matter is they don't recruit at a level high enough to beat Georgia and Alabama. And this showed why. Like that game Friday night showed exactly why. That you can have a really good team and you can win the Big Ten. You can crush Iowa in the Big Ten championship and look really impressive. But like Vegas knew that Georgia, even though like going into this game, look at it that way. Like Georgia was awful. They were viewed not well at all by the national media. They just gotten exposed by Alabama. And Michigan had beaten Iowa, who's a pretty good team. They beaten them 42-3. And no, but Vegas put the spread at 8. And it should have been obviously a lot higher. Like Georgia could have picked a margin of victory. Like it wasn't a close game, and like that's not really fair for Michigan. Like I don't really think that's not what they should be judged by. They should be judged by Cincinnati, Ohio State, Notre Dame, those schools. And I think they can stay there. Like I think they can be a possible playoff appearance again. Like I think Harbaugh can get another appearance. I think he can win another Big Ten championship. I certainly think he can beat Ohio State again. Like hold yourself to the Ohio State standard maybe more than the SEC standard.
Interesting. Well, that's going to get all of our non-SEC fan listeners riled up a little bit, I think.
Why though? Why? Like why?
Well, okay. Listen, I hate Ohio State probably more than just about anybody.
Sure.
I think it's absolutely insane to suggest that they couldn't win a title. I think their talent level is
They can. Ohio State can.
They're in a tier with Bama and Georgia. Look at the recruiting.
Yes.
They are in that tier.
Right.
I think they absolutely can. And I think we'll talk more about this in the offseason because we want to do some program rankings. And I think we want to talk about which programs could theoretically win a title. I do think there are other schools north of the Mason-Dixon that have a prayer. And it's not like a likely thing, maybe, but and as far as we're talking about Michigan, like you're right, like Bo Schembechler is their Hall of Fame coach that everyone that they revere. He was known for winning the Big Ten, like that's what they did, like that. They were happy to win the Big Ten, basically. They weren't actually winning national titles. So like yeah, I think this is about Michigan's peak unless they crank up the recruiting. and that's not impossible. But
It's
right
not.
now, it's not happening.
They're a long ways from it though. Like there's a
Sure.
difference from being, yeah, there's a difference in cranking up recruiting just from being where they're at and being where Alabama's at. Like there's a
Yeah.
large gap there. And I think like we need to recognize that. Like, okay, so, okay, what I said, and I understand that that does seem a bit inflammatory. So Ohio State has, outside of Ohio State winning twice, Ohio State won twice in the last 20 years. But you take the, like, so, okay, Ohio State excluded. You take Ohio State out of it. It's been, I mean, it's been a really, really long time since anyone else there has won that. And I think, like, I think there's reasons for that too. Like, I think you're seeing things even like with the transfer portal and some of the NIL stuff, which is strangely benefiting like a lot of Southern teams. Like, I think like even like just things as simple as just changing demographics. I think you're seeing a lot of stuff happen down south. And yeah, I know that sounds biased because like that is where I'm from, and like I grew up in the South, and I love the SEC. Like that's my conference. But yeah, I mean this is what the third SEC versus SEC championship that we've had since what 2011. So the last 10 years we've had three of them where it's, yeah, the last 10 years we've had three of them where it's SEC on SEC team for the title. Like that's not even good for the sport though. Like I'm not actually wishing it to be that way. Like I think I found myself wishing like over the course of this bowl season that like we need USC to get good. Like Lincoln Riley needs to get that cranked up. We need Dan Lanning to crank it up in Oregon. We need Michigan to recruit better, and we need like, yeah, like the Notre Dames and Ohio States need to become powers. Penn State needs to become good again. If you spend all that money on James Franklin, like hopefully he can get you more than 7 wins, which he got him this year. Nebraska, like, is it actually like a sleeping giant? I think like because Nebraska really cares about football. Like Nebraska has potential to be good. They have a program that cares, and like they don't. Yeah, I'm not sure why. Like I don't understand some of the, maybe as to why they're not good. Like I don't really get that.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm looking forward to diving into some of this in the off season. I think we can have quite a few good conversations
okay,
about some of this. I'll
all
just
right.
say one thing, like,
I'm not going to back off of that either, though. By the
no,
way,
that's fine. I hope we have some disagreements this off season. That makes it more interesting. Um, I will say one thing, like, be careful about making broad sweeping statements based on very recent history.
no, but it's
If
been
it,
the last 10 years. It's been the last 10 years.
but
We've had three times as many SEC versus SEC championships as we have anyone else winning. Like,
I'm not saying anyone is close to the SEC. That's not what I'm saying at all. My point was where I was going with that. If you would have told anybody, in January of 2010
yeah,
that Clemson is going to make 7 playoffs and will win 2 national titles against
sure,
Alabama,
yep,
not a single person in America would have believed you.
understood. Sure,
Based on 30 years of history,
sure.
really based on 100 years of history, they had one other national title. But yeah, like that was completely unprecedented what they just did the last decade. Um, so I guess that's my point: is a lot of things are possible, many of them are not probable. So those are two different conversations, I think.
Understood. And okay, and maybe to that point, and yeah, maybe it's not good that we're getting into this now, but this may be a conversation for another time. But like, there is something, and like to your Clemson point, like I'm not saying it's just the SEC because like I think Texas and Oklahoma State, like are good programs and have potential to get to that level that Clemson is at. Like Oklahoma was almost at the Clemson level, not quite, but like those programs are still either have SEC ties or extremely closely related to the SEC. Like Clemson's not an SEC program, but they're like literally the next thing to it. Same with Florida
Geographically.
State. Right, exactly. With Florida State, they're recruiting the same players. They have the same type of program, the same faculty, the same facilities, the same coaching staffs. Like it all is very cyclical, kind of in this area, right? And so yeah, like I think maybe that's more my point. Like I'm not saying that it's impossible for someone from the north to win. I'm just saying that it's very difficult for a midwestern team to compete against a southern team that just has better access to better players. Like that's just the
Yeah.
truth of it. Like
It's
that's not
harder.
It's way harder.
It's hard.
If you're Harbaugh, like Harbaugh did an incredible coaching job, an incredible coaching job. It's almost an unfair fight when you look at what he's having to do up there because he's having to bring these Southern kids up there because the good high school football players are either West or South. Like that's just the truth of it. Like that's where they all come from. You can look at like a little chart from 24/7. They're all coming from Texas, California, Georgia, Florida, and like Mississippi, like Louisiana. Like that's where they come from. So that's where you have to get the players from. Like now, I will say, and I don't know if you, yeah, you can dive into like NFL success because NFL success is so different than college success. But like there are like a lot of like good players that come out of nowhere and end up being tremendous NFL athletes, like tremendous. And so like that's really difficult. But like for right now, it does feel very lopsided. And like I don't think that's a good thing. My argument is that like all this lopsided in favor of the SEC is not good for us. Like that's a bad thing.
All right. Well, we will approach this subject at a later date, but let's talk about Alabama Cincinnati now.
Okay.
This game was slightly tighter, I would say, than Georgia Michigan.
Yes.
Cincinnati actually like kept it sort of close for a little while. But again, like Alabama, pretty much like from the very opening possession, you could see what the game plan was. They were going to
Yeah.
try to run it down Cincinnati's throats, and were pretty much able to do that.
Right.
Do you take anything away from that? Like because Alabama's offensive line seems to have flipped the switch, or is that just that Cincinnati is Cincinnati? They're a G5 team with G5 talent.
Cincinnati played exceptionally well and still got like kicked around. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened. Alabama just decided to run the ball. Like apparently they're just like, hey, we're just gonna run the ball and like you can't stop us. Alabama's offensive line is something that we're not talking enough about because okay, just Michigan's offensive line won the Joe Moore Award, right?
Yeah.
For the best offensive line in college football. Anyone who watched that game saw Georgia's defensive line absolutely abuse the Michigan offensive line. They did literally whatever they wanted. There's videos of the center pulling around and just getting absolutely crunched into the backfield by like a defensive end. And like that was just kind of like a microcosm of the game. Like Georgia's defensive line absolutely manhandled them, stopped the run with sometimes only 4 or 5 guys. They completely stopped the run. The Alabama offensive line completely shut down this Georgia defensive line
Yeah.
a month ago. Completely
It
shut
really
it down.
did.
Georgia had no sacks, none against Bryce Young, none,
Yep.
0. And like how? Yeah, I don't understand how the Michigan offensive line is the best. Like I don't know. That's tough. That's tough. Like people were asking, yeah, Kirby Smart about it. And he's just like, well, they're way smarter than me. It was kind of like a tongue in cheek jab. I think he's actually just like the people that vote on this award are just idiots. I think that's what he thinks maybe. But like Alabama's defense or
Probably the
offensive
same
line.
people that voted for the Mackey Award this year.
Well, is that the tight end award? Is
That's
that right?
the tight end award. Neither Michael
Yeah.
Mayer nor Brock Bowers were
No,
finalists.
no, I know.
The two best tight ends in the country.
How you can watch Brock Bowers and say that he's not one of the top 3 tight ends in the country is mind blowing. But anyway, like the Alabama offensive line completely shut down the Georgia defensive line, and like that made no sense. That's crazy. And then they come out and steamroll what is a physical Cincinnati team. Alabama steamrolled a physical Cincinnati team. Cincinnati, you can say whatever you want about them. They're physical and they're well coached, and like they don't get pushed around. So, yeah, I don't know. The Alabama offensive line has found like 4 more gears apparently, and because they weren't good all year. Like Alabama's O line was not good all year. They got abused by Auburn the week before Georgia. They got abused. Auburn had so many sacks against Bryce Young. I think they had 7 in the first half against Alabama. It was unbelievable. And then they just flip a switch, and then like the 2 biggest games of the year, they play unbelievable. They played absolutely unbelievable. It's the reason why Alabama won. Really, Bryce Young wasn't terrific. Like he was okay, but not terrific. And yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Like the Alabama O line is doing things that no one saw coming. And why would you? Like I've watched almost every Alabama game all year, and like there was no reason to think that they had this in them. None.
Yeah. By the way, like what I said about Michigan also applies to Cincinnati. Yeah, they got pretty much dominated. They deserve to be there. Like, just because they got destroyed doesn't mean Notre Dame or A&M or whoever. Yeah, obviously we did see A&M beat Bama this year, but
Right.
I think we know how the rematch would have gone there. Like,
Right.
and not that A&M is one of those teams that was in the running. I'm just saying throw out any other non-playoff team. I'm not convinced the outcome would be a whole lot different than what we saw with Bama Cincinnati. So yeah, we can talk about the way Bama dominated Cincinnati. We can talk about the different things in the game, but I'm just not here for all the people that are trying to say that Cincinnati and Michigan didn't deserve to be there.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I think Cincinnati and Michigan were probably the third and fourth best teams in the country. Like I don't think that's a stretch to say. I think they deserve to be there. Cincinnati had an unbelievable season, and to be fair, they played Alabama. I mean, probably as close as anybody else would have played them in the country.
By the way, I was really impressed with their corners.
Yeah,
Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant played very well.
yeah, they did.
Alabama got a few things in the passing game, but it seemed like they were picking on different guys. Like they were avoiding Gardner and Bryant, I think, to an extent as well. Like even like okay, so Georgia has a great, incredible defense,
Yeah,
good corners.
yeah,
Bama looked more scared of Cincinnati's corners than they
yeah.
were of Georgia's. And
Completely agree. Completely.
the difference, of course, is that Cincinnati doesn't have the other 9 guys on their defense,
Right.
like a Georgia does. To me, like Cincinnati, they were missing a few. Like they could have used the nose tackle. They could have used a few receivers. To me, that was the biggest mismatch. Was Cincinnati's receivers? They're really good AAC receivers.
Right.
They
Yeah.
they just couldn't either get open or make tough catches when given the opportunity.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I think like to your point about the Cincy corners playing well. I think like Jameson Williams had 7 catches, but only for 62 yards.
Yeah,
None longer than 20. Like that's good. You kept him to 62 yards receiving. Like that's a win. You count that as a win.
mm-hmm.
You're right. They did have to go other places. They went to Ja'Cory Brooks had a few more yards, but not many. He had the touchdown that kind of finished the game off. Really, Slade Bolden all was also involved, kind of like that little slot receiver. He was involved a lot, but they didn't really throw the ball that much. Like they didn't really
Right.
throw the ball that much. They ran for 301 yards, and that was enough to win.
Yep.
Like Cincy's defense actually played well. Like you held Alabama and a Heisman Trophy quarterback to 27 points. Like you weren't going to do much better. Like I don't think that
Yeah.
you were ever going to do a whole lot better than that. And yeah, like I agree. I think Alabama was able just to kind of slow down the run. Ford had a couple of I mean, yeah, he had a little bit of success, but not much. I think he had 15 for
Mhm.
77 yards. Not great. And yeah, Desmond Ritter is officially not the guy that's going to beat Alabama. Like
Yeah.
144 yards against Alabama is not it. Like I think you have to be elite at quarterback to beat Alabama. I really do. Like you look back at the teams that beat Alabama and like they're just elite quarterbacks. They just are. And or elite quarterback play. I don't know if we want to call Zach Calzada an elite quarterback, but
He
that night
played very well. Yeah.
he was lights out. He was lights out against them, and that's what you have to have, and that is what I am so worried about as a Georgia fan because we have Stetson Bennett trotting him out there again for all the marbles, and it's disconcerting. Like I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like this year, the Alabama Georgia comparison. I'm not going to make any predictions here. Like I'm just not going to. I don't want to get into it too much, but like, what about these games was surprising? Like from the semifinal games, what surprised you? And then I'll tell you what surprised me because like I'm just like who knew Alabama could run the ball like that? Like I didn't think they could run the ball like that. Like against a good Cincinnati team, I had no idea they could run the ball like that.
That was the first thing I was thinking of. You said Cincinnati's defense played well, and I think context wise, you're right. But I
Hmm.
was a little disappointed by their complete inability to stop the run. Um,
Yeah.
and, and yeah, I mean, it's Cincinnati against Alabama. Like, it's no point really against Cincinnati. I'm not trying to
Right.
drag them at all. It's
Sure.
just I would have liked to see them get a few more stuffs here and there.
Yeah.
But and then as far as like the Georgia Michigan game, I don't think anything really surprised me. And that's maybe a bit hot takey because we talked about Stetson Bennett played pretty well.
Yeah.
Um, I have more thoughts on that. We'll talk about them when we preview the title game. What
Okay.
do you have a few other things that surprised you?
Do you want to go ahead and do the preview now? Should we just preview it now?
We can do that. Yeah, we can
Let's
we can
just
finish up with New Year's Six games later. Yep.
yeah, let's just go ahead and preview it right now and just jump into it, I guess. Okay. Stetson Bennett, like we've wasted so much breath over this whole thing from the beginning of the year. I will say at least we were early on this. Like I think we talked about this. We were talking about this as early as like week 2 or 3 that we were talking about the possibility of JT getting pulled and Stetson being the guy for Georgia. It's the case. It's happened. Everyone is healthy and Stetson is still the guy. And he played awful against Alabama. Like he just did not play well. And not awful. Awful is not the word. He did not play great. And you have to play
Right.
great to beat Alabama. You have to have great quarterback play to beat Alabama. You just have to. But he did against Michigan. It's so mind blowing to me. Like what I want to believe, I really want to believe that it is not a mental block for Georgia. That Alabama is not a mental thing for Georgia. Like you hate to say that. I know the coaches vehemently deny it. Like, oh no, they could never do that. Something clearly was different. Something clearly was different because like the Stetson Bennett that we all saw on New Year's Eve was so drastically different than the Stetson Bennett that we saw like in the first weekend of December. And like what Stetson Bennett are you going to get against Alabama on the 10th of January? Like I have no idea. How am I supposed to know? Like I've seen so many different incarnations of him and it's going to take a great one. Like he played great against Michigan. He's going to have that equal kind of performance to beat Alabama. Like you're just going to have to. Like I think Georgia pretty much. Like I think this game's going to be close. I really do. Like I think this game is not going to be a 3-score game. I don't think it will happen at all. You're getting if you're on the Alabama side, you have to be ecstatic because you're getting the greatest coach of all time and a huge talent differential at quarterback, massive. So like yeah, you have to really like your odds. You're also getting the best receiver on the field. On the bright side, if you're a Georgia fan, it's like hey, because something that we don't talk about, Josh Jobe, the corner for Alabama, will be out. Mechie, the really kind of like the secondary receiver for Alabama, is also out. He's not going to be playing either. Like those are two guys they had last time. They don't
There's
have
a
them this
few
time.
offensive linemen that are iffy, by the way.
Really,
Yes.
I'll believe that when I see it. That's just smoke and mirrors. And then Vegas is smart enough in all of their knowledge to go put Georgia as the favorite again. Why on earth would they do that? I don't know why. Like
They had
that
to take
alone,
you off, surely.
that alone makes me want to bet on Alabama. Like, why should I not go put? Tell me, convince me why I should not go put every penny I have on Alabama plus three.
Don't put every penny you have on it because you should never do that. But I can't convince you why you shouldn't put money on Alabama +3. And I have a few thoughts. Stetson Bennett, he played very well that game. To
Terrific.
me, to me though, the difference was Bama was able to get pressure on him. Michigan was not. Georgia kept him clean, and also Michigan didn't have the athletes. Their linebacking core was not able to clean up a lot of the swing passes. That
True.
Georgia was very reliant on short swing passes. He also threw a couple nice deep balls. That's awesome.
He did. Yeah.
But he was not completing a lot of balls 12 yards down the field into coverage. Like it was a lot of get your playmakers in space. And that's great. Like that's what you need to do against Michigan because your playmakers will beat Michigan that way and dominate them in the process. I'm just not sure that's going to work against Alabama. I think Alabama has superior speed in their linebacking core
Right.
and their safeties are faster. Maybe he hits a couple big shots down the field. That would be awesome. I just don't know that some of those easy throws are going to be there against Alabama. They were the way they were against Michigan. So that would be one of my worries. I'm not convinced that we saw a transcendent performance where he's completely changed and now he's the second coming of Deshaun Watson. Like I'm just not, like I saw I think it was an article on 24/7 Sports. I can't remember the exact headline, but it was something to the effect of Georgia now has the elite quarterback they need to beat Alabama.
Oh.
I was like, hold on, whoa. Like, he played very well. He played very well, and I do think Georgia's defense is going to show up against Alabama in the rematch in a way they did not in the first game.
Yeah.
So I think Georgia has a chance here. Like, I really do think Georgia has a chance here.
I think so too.
I just don't think we're going to see Stetson Bennett put up 300 yards and 4 touchdowns against this Alabama team. Like, I don't think they can win based on his play. Like, he has to be a part of the puzzle. He has to play well.
Right.
But I don't think he's going to carry them. And he's not that transcendent quarterback.
No, okay, we agree. He is not the transcendent quarterback. And yeah, whoever said that he is absolutely crazy. Like, we saw Stetson Bennett play the best game of his career against Michigan. He will never have a game that good again ever, as long as he lives.
Yeah.
That will be his high water mark. It will not get better than that for Stetson, because that's the peak of everything he used. That was literally all of him. Like, there is no more. That is it. It's only the game against Alabama will be worse. He will not be as good. Here's what confuses me though. Like, we talked about the pass rush. Michigan has a better pass rush than Alabama. I understand Alabama has Will Anderson. Hang on. I know he has Will Anderson. Ojabo and Hutchison are better overall as a duo than anyone Alabama has. They're better. They're going to go higher in the draft. Right now they're more talented. They've had terrific years. We saw them eat up Bryce Young in that game, and like, Ohio State has a pretty good O-line. I don't understand how that all happened. I know that that's some of the offensive line, maybe not just quarterback, but like, if Georgia's offensive line can protect that well, like, maybe it does work. Like, maybe it can work against Alabama. Like, yeah, again, going back to where I'm at, I have no idea where to go with this. I'm a Georgia fan. My official stance is that I'm cautiously optimistic, but extremely cautious. Like, I don't feel good about it. No, like, I don't feel good about it. Like, we haven't beaten Alabama since 2007. Why would I feel good about it? Like, we never beat them. But like, on the other hand, like, we're pretty good though, you know. Like, they've lured me back in. The hope has me I'm ready for this. Like this could happen.
Relating to your point on the pass rush, if you compare the front sevens of Michigan and Alabama, yeah, you're right. Hutchinson and Ojabo.
Yeah.
Those are, like, if you're choosing a player from each team or whatever, like, yeah, those are 2 that you choose. I think the other 5 are from Alabama. And Alabama just has they have guys like DJ Dale and Fedarian Mathis, that, like, guys that we never talk about, but were like extremely highly ranked recruits, and they're just normal players there.
Right.
And I think if you only have 2 major weapons to worry about, I think that's why Georgia was able to slow them down a little bit, is because you don't have to double team anybody on the interior of Michigan's defensive line. You don't have to worry about their linebackers that much. Like,
right.
You can focus more on Hutchinson and Ojabo. And with Alabama, like, yeah, Will Anderson is the star, but everyone else is 90% of Will Anderson.
No, I agree. I agree, and I think that's maybe probably part of the reason why I'm just staying away from betting here at all.
Sure.
Because in my heart, obviously, I want to go with Georgia. My brain is screaming at me to take Alabama with all 3 points. Like, I get Alabama and a field goal. Like, are you nuts? Like, so yeah, like I'm conflicted. But like, I believe that right now Georgia has the better receiving core than Alabama. Like, I believe that right now, because Pickens is healthy, something he wasn't the first time around. Burton has been unbelievable. Brock Bowers is the best tight end in all of football. Fight me on that one. I will fight you. Like, he just really is. You have to, if you don't believe that Brock is not the best tight end in all of football, you haven't watched.
George Kittle?
Well, okay, sorry. College football. We'll just stick in the college realm. He's 19 years old. He's a true freshman. He's 19 years old.
I think he's the best receiving tight end in college football.
Okay, I mean, yeah, okay.
Which is the main job of a tight end.
I'm not even going to get into that with you right now. Like the whole blocking tight end thing, like just put in an extra offensive lineman then. Like that's what I don't understand
Yeah,
about coaches.
no.
Like why are we getting cute if you're going to bring in a tight end? Like the whole point of him is to block occasionally, but mainly be a receiving threat. Like that's his
No,
goal.
my point was like Michael Mayer is 80% of the receiver probably, but twice the blocker.
Okay,
Whatever.
okay, okay, sure. They're both excellent. They're both going to make a ton of money playing
They're
that
both going to be
position.
first round picks.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. My point is I think like I'm feeling good. Like the more I'm feeling about it, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm feeling that like Georgia has a real shot at this. I think Georgia has to keep
Yeah.
it close. The goal is just to keep it close, and try to not get screwed by the refs or the backup quarterback for Alabama. Like that's what I believe is going to happen. Like
Yeah.
I've been around this game long enough. That's what happens. And yeah, you play for 60 minutes, and at the end of the game, the team with the red jerseys and the numerals on the sides of the helmet always wins. That's just how it goes. Yeah, 22 men play, and at the end, Alabama wins. That really is all you really need to know about college football. Alabama will always win. So cautiously optimistic. I know I'm probably going to get. Yeah, I'm probably going to get just heartbroken again. Like I can just see this coming. Should I go to the game? Do you think I should go? Like, I in some ways I want to go, but like, do I can just see it happening. Like I already know what's going to happen. Like we're going to get there, and it's going to be like we're going to be up 2 scores. Obviously, Georgia will lead this game by 2 scores at some point. It's just going to happen, and they're going to have a late comeback, and then I'm just going to be like up there in the third deck just crying after a while. Like and that's what'll happen. It's happened to me so many times before. Why would it not happen now?
Yeah. I don't disagree with like any of what you're saying really. Um, I do think like I said, I'm pretty sure Georgia's defense. We talked about how you mentioned especially how in modern college football you're not going to pitch a perfect season defensively.
No,
Like at some point you're going to get into a shootout,
sure,
and so you have to be able to put up points.
yeah,
That already happened. Like
yeah.
I don't expect this to be a shootout. Like
No, I think it'll be close. I
I
really do.
think
I think
this
it'll
will
be a
be
close game.
this will be like maybe first team to 27 wins or something like that. Like
27-24, something like
something
that.
like that. Yeah, that would seem very reasonable to me. So I don't think you can make a very like there's no prediction that I would feel comfortable making really other than like I think it's going to be fairly close. So this might just come down to who executes better, who makes a few plays here. Does some backup running back cough up a fumble, at the wrong spot? Like
Yeah.
these are the things that decide tight matchups. So yeah, to me it's very close. I'm taking Alabama +3. Like if we were still doing locks, this would be one of my locks of the week.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so you have Alabama +3. Uh, yeah, like okay, hang on.
It's the same thing as when I took Ohio State minus whatever against Michigan. I was wrong, but I felt comfortable making that bet knowing that history was on my side. And
Yeah.
that's what I feel right now, knowing very well I could be wrong. This could be just the year of Georgia and they beat Alabama finally. But Alabama's an underdog here. Man, like
And Georgia has to beat them by more than a field goal. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like Georgia can win by a field goal, you still keep your money. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm on your side as well. Like I think Georgia might win outright, but like it's by a field goal. Like
Right.
I think that's where it's at. And so like yeah, the right side's Alabama. Like do I see Georgia winning by a touchdown? No. In what universe do I see Georgia winning by a touchdown? Like Alabama doesn't get blown out. That doesn't happen. And like yeah, I don't know. It's wow, you've got me in a dark place again. I go back and forth from like a really good place to a really bad place very fast, and yeah, it's a special form of torture, and I don't know if you quite grasp it really, but like to be so good at football, George is incredible at football and have been for a while. But no one really cares or knows. No one knows or cares because they haven't beaten Alabama. Like they just can't do it. Nick Saban versus Kirby Smart. Since Kirby Smart's been at Georgia and Kirby are 0-4, but Georgia has led by double digits in all 4 games. Like, how is that even possible?
That's
Like
crazy.
just and then yeah. So yeah, Alabama's the play because why not? They always do. Alabama +3. I guess I'll just take it and yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. If I can make you feel slightly better, maybe
You
like
can.
I
No.
think I do think Alabama, gun to my head, haven't used that phrase in a while. Sorry, sister. Um, I think Alabama probably wins, but I think right now, if I had to pick a national champion for next year, I think I'd probably pick Georgia.
No, no, I will not hear that. I will not hear slander like that. Georgia is going to be so bad next year. This is it for Georgia. Like, I don't know if you listen to the Josh Pate podcast or not, but like, it is.
Occasionally,
This is truly it for Georgia. Like, anything less than a championship is a failure this year for Georgia. Just like, let's just be honest here. Let's be really honest. That is the truth. How many other times are you going to get Clemson being bad combined with Ohio State being bad combined with Oklahoma being bad? Like, and then Alabama's looks extremely, like, at least inconsistent all year, except when they play you. And so, like, this is it for Georgia. This is it. And, like, if we don't win here, like, we're never going to win. Like, we just have to accept that as Georgia fans. And yeah, it's a dark place to go. Like, I understand it. But, like, explain to me how, as a Georgia fan, you can be okay with losing this game. There's been a lot of Georgia fans, and Georgia fans are a little maybe you could say spoiled. I don't even know if you want to say spoiled, but depressed. Georgia fans have been depressed over the last month because it's been very real to us that Alabama doesn't even have to be that great in their standard to still beat you. And
yeah.
you're historically great by your standard. Like it's their B team against your A++ team, and they still beat you by 3 scores. Like that's what it is. So like no, I reject the notion that Georgia will win next year. If Georgia doesn't win this year, they never will. And like it's okay to be emotional about it. Like it really is because like it's the truth. Like it's kind of the truth. Like and not saying that Georgia can't somehow sneak up one year and maybe get them, but like for Alabama, there has to be a landmark win where Georgia goes and knocks them off their perch for all the marbles. It has to happen. And it can't happen like until you have a chance to like on Monday to beat him in a national championship because then you have to start taking the recruits to be great. For Georgia to be great, they have to take Alabama down a peg. They do. They have to take them. I don't think Alabama and Georgia can coexist being great at the same time. Not at elite status. I don't believe that because I think they fight for the same player. I think they're kind of the same program a little bit. And like that's why Alabama being great is why Georgia is not. And if Georgia's great, I don't think Alabama can be. So you have to go take it from them, and this is the chance that you have. And if you don't do it here, you might not get a chance again. You might not until Saban retires.
So you don't think Caleb Williams is coming to Athens next year?
No, but I will say Arch Manning is allegedly really interested. Arch Manning to Athens. Georgia's the favorite for him right now. I don't know how much you get into the crystal ball stuff right now, but like,
Yeah.
holy cow! If we could get Arch, okay, yeah, I don't want to get into that just a whole lot. Like Kirby Smart has no business messing with Arch Manning. Like Arch Manning's a future NFL Hall of Famer, and Kirby would assuredly have him holding a clipboard for a couple of seasons, like just because, you know. But yeah, like I don't believe anything anymore. I don't really believe in Kirby unless he can win. Like I know that sounds so like fatalistic maybe, but I think is actually fair. Like I really think that's fair because like yeah, it has to happen for him. It has to happen for Kirby.
So here's where I disagree with you on saying that this is Georgia's A++ team. The last whatever couple decades, sure,
Yeah.
you're right. However, you're still talking about a team that has Stetson Bennett quarterback.
Yeah.
I,
Tell me about it.
I could very easily see a Georgia team 2 years from now that is 90% as good on defense as they are right now.
Right.
Which, by the way, as long as they keep recruiting the way they are, like their defense will be legit.
Sure.
And has a former 5-star recruit at quarterback and a bunch of former 4-star recruits and probably a 5-star recruit at receiver. Like, I do think I would definitely lean towards Georgia wins a national title in the next 5 years over no. Like, definitely. Like, it to me, if someone offered me that prop bet, I would say yes, absolutely.
I would say no. I really believe that. Like, I believe that if Georgia doesn't win this year, that it could be legitimately until Saban retires before you win another one
Hmm.
or get another chance. I honestly believe that.
Interesting.
I think they interfere too much with each other. I think they fight too much for the same recruits. I think that's part of the reason why you have seen Alabama's defense not been as good since Kirby left. Part of it was Kirby leaving, but a big part of it was Kirby taking the players at Georgia that Alabama want to play defense for them. Like there's no secret out there that Bama's defense hasn't been great since he left, and it's because like Georgia's defense is really good. Like all the good players are playing for Georgia right now on defense. Like clearly a difference there. Now it doesn't matter because Alabama has such a huge advantage at quarterback that they still beat you by 3 scores anyway. But like I think there has to be a like this is I think a bigger deal maybe than what some people want to make it. Like Georgia did not have a good season if they lose. Georgia's season
Hmm.
was a failure. It was a failure. And Alabama will have come off of one of their greatest seasons of all time and have this is a disappointing year by Alabama standards, and they won a national title anyway, back to
Hmm.
back, repeat again. I don't know if you can get past that. I don't know if you can get past that as a Georgia team and a program.
Interesting. Well, I guess we'll find out.
No pressure though, right? No pressure,
Yeah.
Kirby. No pressure.
So, any other thoughts on any of these other bowl games? So we had some pretty exciting. Obviously, the Fiesta Bowl. Oklahoma State comes back from being down 28-7 against my Fighting Irish
Yeah.
to win 37-35. Ohio State comes back big against Utah. Um, Baylor beats Ole Miss, who lost Matt Corral to injury early. And let's see, Michigan State beat Pitt. I believe those were the other four of the New Year's Six bowl games. Any thoughts on any of these for you?
What about okay? So Notre Dame led 28-7, I believe, on
Yes,
Oklahoma State, and then I believe didn't they go? What was the run that Oklahoma State went on? It was like a really
30
big
to
run,
0.
30-0 run for Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to judge too because like Marcus Freeman is coaching in his first game, right? Like that's his first game as head coach, but like he was the defensive coordinator the whole time, and like
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That's and it's really tough. It's really hard to judge a team. I think you can judge players based off bowl games. I don't think you can judge teams well based off of bowl games that are not playoff,
Yeah.
not playoff games. I don't think you can judge them. Like I think you saw like Jackson Smith and Jigba go off for Ohio State. Absolutely go off. Like he's good, but like you can't really judge the Ohio State offense as a whole, like if that makes sense. Because like I think the cohesion, it's all different. Like I think there's players playing that people are like programs are just trying to see what they have there. With like this guy's a 5-star or a 4-star prospect. He hasn't got much playing time. Let's just see if he's good before he leaves in the portal if we don't play him. So like I think that's kind of why like I just think it's hard to judge. Like I think Notre Dame will be fine. I think Oklahoma State, for me, this is kind of their high watermark, maybe a little bit. Like I think
Yeah.
this is the best version of Oklahoma State we ever see. But I think
Gundy
Notre Dame,
called it the biggest win in program history.
probably agree. I probably agree. I'd say that the win against Oklahoma might have been a little bit bigger than this and definitely meant more. Um, but yeah, like I think Notre Dame has a higher ceiling than Oklahoma State. Like I think next year Notre Dame is going to be a better football team than Oklahoma State, and I would pick them if they play next year at a neutral site for sure. So like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not just trying to console Notre Dame fans, but like I think like you're gonna be fine. Like you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. I think you're right. I do think there are a few holes that we've kind of known about at Notre Dame. like there's a few places on the roster, namely the skill positions. It's receiver, it's cornerback, and other than Kyle Hamilton, it's safety, and
Right.
also like we were playing essentially we were playing two Mike linebackers all year because
Yeah.
our top
Yeah.
two Wills got hurt in fall camp. Um, and
Right.
like
Right.
Oklahoma State figured out they could go four wide, and Notre Dame couldn't cover it.
Sure.
Probably the poorest recruiting position Notre Dame has had the last decade is cornerback, and that's what happened. Like Oklahoma State figured out they could just pick on Clarence Lewis all day long, and so they did. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and like I think I'm probably a little, I'm slightly more down on Notre Dame going into next year. Probably overreacting, but I'm also up. I'm still up on Notre Dame in the 5 year future under Marcus Freeman. If you look at 2023 recruiting, like
right,
they they're bringing
yeah,
in defensive backs, like they are
right.
bringing in highly ranked players. He's going to have probably as many excuse me 4-star corners in the 2023 class as we've had in the last 5 years combined. Like Clarkley was really good at a number of things as defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. He was not a great recruiter. And yeah, with Colin Hamilton sitting out this game, it was clear the back seven just not quite the talent level Notre Dame needs. They open next year against Ohio State.
Yeah,
I think they'll be able to score against Ohio State. I don't think they're going to be able to stop them. Like I think Ohio State is going to put up 4 passing touchdowns at least. So
is that first game? Is that the first
first
game for
game,
next year?
yep,
Is it really at
yep.
their place or at y'all's?
It's at the shoe, I believe.
Oh, ooh.
Yep.
Should we transition to the Rose Bowl then? Ohio State, Utah.
Sure. Yeah, Utah had a big lead, 35-21 at halftime, I believe.
Yeah, they led by 2 touchdowns. I think 4 different times.
Yeah. Yeah, Ohio State went crazy. Jackson Smith and Jigba had 300 some receiving yards. The guy's a stud.
Yeah,
Marvin Harrison Jr., the true freshman, had 3 touchdowns.
he's a ball player. He is a
Yeah.
ball player.
Yep.
They just keep those receivers there. My goodness.
His dad was my favorite player growing up, Marvin Harrison on the Colts.
Yeah.
Known for incredible route running. Guess what? The junior version, same thing. Incredible route runner.
Yeah.
A little bit of Devontae Smith to his game. Yeah.
Jackson Smith and Jigba. Here's his stat line. I don't know if you're ready for this. Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's a sophomore now. He has to come back next year. He can't go to the draft. 15 receptions, 347 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. That's the best receiving game I've ever seen. Like
That's
I've never
crazy.
seen a better receiving game. And how, if you're Utah, how is it possible to keep giving him that much? Like they didn't really have anyone else that really hurt you. Like Harrison had 6 receptions for 71. He also had 3 scores, but like Smith and Jigba had like well over half the receiving yards, like
Yeah.
2/3 of the receiving yards. How do you not like triple team him? Like, isn't that an option?
It should be mentioned, I think one of Utah's corners in this game was like a running
Yeah.
back.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
like,
No, it's true. It's true.
there's some of that, but also like we know like Ohio State's passing game is the best in the country.
Right.
It will be again next year.
Right.
They
One
can
player-
lose 2 first rounders and they'll still have the best passing game in the country.
Valid. No, it's absolutely correct. I think especially with Jameson Williams leaving Alabama, like we don't really know what's going to be there for Bryce Young next year at Alabama. That'd be kind of like the only program that would actually hold a candle to what's going to happen with Ohio State on offense next year. They might have a better offense. They might have a better receiving core next year than they did this year, and that's with losing 2 first-round talents. Like it's legitimate with Emeka Kabuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. Smith and Jigba just has another year, and we've seen like him, like he's just gonna pop off. Julian Fleming's kind of a name that like he's a 5-star guy, is actually rated ahead of Smith and Jigba, but like hasn't really come into his own. Maybe we'll see him take the big jump next year. We'll see. But like they could be legitimately better on offense next year than they are this year, and like that's just crazy. It's
And they're also bringing in 4 of the top 20 receivers in the country, 3 of whom are top 10.
It's
Like,
true. It's true.
yeah.
One guy I do want to talk about is the little kick returner for Utah / slot receiver,
Yes.
Britton Covey. I don't know if people talk about that, but he had the kickoff return for touchdown against Oregon in the games they played against Oregon, and then he also took back a 97-yarder against Ohio State here for a touchdown.
Yeah.
He needs to get on a roster. Like we need to start a petition to get this guy on an NFL roster.
Yeah.
I think I think this is his last year there at Utah, but like. He belongs with Bill Belichick. Like he absolutely belongs on a Bill Belichick roster somewhere. Like he needs to make it there. This matters.
He's been the best kick returner in the Pac-12 for a couple years now, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Like he's a well-known returner. Yeah. Utah, I was impressed. Like Utah did pretty much like they controlled the line of scrimmage for a good chunk of that game, which I think we kind of expected. Like, I don't know what's wrong with Ohio State. Jim Knowles, the new defensive coordinator hire, he's got a lot of work in front of him this offseason. I think he'll do a good job. Like, I really do. Because the talent is there. We know this for Ohio State's defense. But
Right.
clearly they just haven't been playing to a very high standard the last couple of years.
Right.
So, yeah, clear. If Ohio State can figure out the defense, like they are a legit national title contender next season.
Agreed. Okay, but the defense is a mess. Like you're
That's
right.
why I say if they can figure it out.
If they can figure it out,
Yeah.
that's unlikely for me. I think also the Ryan Day rumors to the Bears, or the Ryan Day to the Bear rumors
Please.
are not. That's not unfounded. Like that's enough smoke there to where that's like okay, that's a possibility, right? Because the Bears surely won't be keeping their head coach, and Ryan Day does kind of want to go back to the NFL. Like I think we've seen that. Like he's former NFL guy and kind of wants to be in the NFL again. So I wouldn't hate to see it. I wouldn't mind at all.
I would like that quite a lot. Yes. Okay. Transfer portal. We mentioned Caleb Williams. He entered the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Did leave the door open for returning to Oklahoma, but this just happened since we started recording. Dylan Gabriel, the UCF quarterback who announced that he was transferring to UCLA,
Yes.
he has flipped to Oklahoma. So Dylan Gabriel will be at
Really?
Oklahoma next year, which makes me think that Caleb Williams is probably leaving.
You think he goes to Clemson?
That
Where
could
does he
make
go? Where does he go?
So the ones that would make the most sense to me, USC of course because Lincoln Riley is there, but they do have Jackson Dart, like who was a highly ranked freshman of his own. I think Caleb Williams is different though. Like I think Caleb Williams is better than Jackson Dart, and USC I believe would take him. I also could see. I mentioned Georgia. Like Georgia would immediately be my national title favorite, like hands down, if they had Caleb Williams. Just saying. And I think Clemson makes some sense, even though they have DJU there and bringing in Cade Klubnik. Like that makes some sense,
right.
maybe less so than the others.
Right.
To me, it's probably USC or Georgia. Can you think of any other destinations that you would see him ending up at?
Florida?
Interesting.
I don't know.
I could see that.
I will say Billy Napier has done an incredible job down there for his first month. He's 1 month in, and he has been phenomenal. Like Billy Napier has impressed a ton down in Gainesville, and like
that's actually a really good point. I didn't think of Florida.
Right. I think with seeing especially Spencer Rattler going to South Carolina, which was huge, right? That's huge for that program. Seeing like I would say Miami would also probably be another potential option for Caleb Williams, Miami or Florida, just because right now like those like especially those Florida schools, a ton of NIL money. That's potential there. So and new coaching staffs at both places. Maybe they bring someone in there with ties to Caleb Williams, and maybe that's where he goes. Other than that, I don't really know though. Like it's very much it's a real new thing. So like no one really has any idea where he's looking at. Just maybe two schools kind of off the top of my head, either Miami or Florida.
Makes sense. Dan Orlovsky had a list of 5 schools. He included Notre Dame on it.
Really, dude.
It would be huge, and I think it would actually make sense. The problem is he's an undergrad. Like Notre Dame, it's really hard to get into Notre Dame as a transfer if you're not a graduate student. So it's not impossible. It has happened before, but it's I don't know academically. Maybe he's a really good student. I don't know. Who knows? I do think it would be a really good match, but I don't expect that to happen.
Oregon, another possibility, maybe. I don't know.
It could make sense.
I don't know.
Are we worried at all about Oregon's future quarterback? Because Ty Thompson never saw the field this year, the highly ranked freshman, and Anthony Brown was nothing special.
Well, Bo Nix is on campus, right?
That's right. I forgot about Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is there. So, I think Bo Nix is the guy, as currently constructed. However, if Caleb Williams comes, then Caleb Williams is clearly the guy. And you kind of, I don't know what Bo Nix does then. But, that's probably why Caleb Williams wouldn't already go there is because, Bo's already there. What's the point of having two? But, I think Oregon, with Bo Nix will be interesting. I think Bo Nix would fit that scheme as well as anybody. just like running around and just throwing the ball to who knows where, and somehow it always works out for him. But or sometimes, yeah. So I don't know. I think that would probably be one of the at least an option for him. Ole Miss is something that we're not talking about. Ole Miss is a legitimate candidate for someone because Kiffin does incredible things with quarterbacks.
Right.
And Corral is going to be leaving, obviously going to the NFL. He's going to be a top 15 draft pick, I'm sure. So I think Ole Miss is going to get one of these really good quarterbacks. Ole Miss is going to get one. I would actually say them or Florida would probably be my leaders right now for Caleb Williams if I had to bet.
That's not a bad call. I do think, like, I don't expect this to happen, but I think if he would go to Penn State like that, that would all of a sudden make the Big Ten really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll happen because his dad said something about preparing for the NFL is like one of the main things they're looking at. I don't know that there's a whole lot at Penn State that would give you a lot of faith in that. But yeah, like some of those schools that are really good at basically everywhere but quarterback, like some of those are interesting, maybe a Michigan, but
it would be kind of nice to see Caleb Williams go to Georgia. That way we could see what excuses the coaching staff come up with for playing Stetson Bennett over him. Like, yeah, I don't want to go to that place now. We're in the title game and I should be happy. But it would be, if I'm Caleb Williams, avoid Athens like the freaking plague. Like, and same with Arch Manning. Like, I don't know what is with these quarterbacks for going there. Why would you go play at Georgia? Like, they're just gonna they will absolutely mismanage. They're just gonna mismanage it. They're just gonna bungle the whole situation there. So and yeah, like you don't have to go to those types of schools to be elite in the NFL. Go to Ole Miss. Go to Ole Miss and get to throw the ball a ton. Go to Mississippi State and play for Mike Leach. Throw the ball a ton and get reps. Go to Baylor and play for Dave Aranda and have a really good defense and get to.
That would be interesting.
Right. Like, go to one of those schools and try to learn how to do it. Like, don't go to Georgia where they're going to try to run the ball all the time. LSU could get a really good transfer. Brian Kelly might do some work here. Like, no one's talking about that yet either. So, there's a ton of really good schools that are going to need quarterbacks, and it's going to be a really fascinating offseason, I think, because there's going to be a ton of just like shuffling, really.
Yeah. Another thing with Notre Dame, like there was some talk that in the practices leading up to the Fiesta Bowl, Tyler Buckner looked really good. A little shocked he didn't get any playing time, like I because they couldn't run the ball at all against Oklahoma State. They didn't even try. Like they were like, we can't run the ball against them. We're just going to sling it. And I guess probably the reason Buckner didn't play is because Jack Cohn threw for over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he played well. Yeah, he did.
For the first half, he played exceptional. Second half, seemed like they figured him out. He missed a couple throws, but yeah. So I don't like. Yeah, I think Notre Dame probably thinks they have the quarterback that they want next year. But obviously, if Caleb Williams wants to come there, then anybody in the country would say yes. I believe maybe Alabama being the exception or something like that.
Ohio State maybe.
Or Ohio State, yeah. Those are kind of the two schools that would probably say we're good.
I would agree. I don't know. I think Caleb Williams would be better off at Georgia. Better off at Oklahoma than anywhere else. Like I don't know what he's looking for that he's going to get at, you name it, Georgia or Ole Miss, that he doesn't have at Oklahoma. Unless there's maybe a complete philosophy change that Venables is bringing in. But he's bringing in Jeff Lebby from Ole Miss. Like, they're still going to have a very creative, innovative offense, and they're going to throw the ball. Like, it's not like they're just going to run the ball all the time and go to the triple option or anything. Like, they're still going to be very dynamic. You are correct in saying that Georgia is, I'm just seeing this now, it's just kind of all coming together, but yeah, Georgia is the clear-cut favorite for Caleb Williams right now.
It makes a lot of sense.
Why? Why does it make sense?
Because he's all they're missing. Like, they would be so good with a Caleb Williams.
Would they?
They would be hands down, they would be the national title favorites next year. The next 2 years.
Really?
I think so.
Oh my god. Okay. You're delusional if you think that Kirby can't somehow find a way to mismanage that too.
I'm not saying he wouldn't mismanage it. I'm just saying they would be the favorites.
I see. I think Georgia was this year. Like, I think Georgia was this year, and had you played JT Daniels, would have been hands down the favorites this year. Like, that's what I think.
He's even better than JT Daniels.
Is he? Is he though?
Yeah,
like,
I think so.
As an NFL quarterback, okay. I guess we're not talking about the NFL, we're talking about college, but like JT was a 75% passer. 75%.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. And he like stretched the ball too. Like it wasn't just short throws. Like he took bombs.
Caleb Williams can throw, I would say, probably at least 90% as well. Plus, he's a great runner,
Yeah.
which is a big deal in college, by the way. And you could argue that the whole reason to play Stetson Bennett over him is because he can run. Guess what? Caleb Williams would give you that element as well. Plus, he would give you an incredible arm. Like Caleb Williams at Georgia would be scary. I'm just saying.
Yeah. One can dream. I just I've always dreamt of Georgia like taking the governor off the offense. And like at this point I just like believe that like we're just never gonna do it. So like let's just be happy with what we have. Like let's just be okay with Stetson Bennett. Let's just go look for another walk on somewhere in South Georgia somewhere and let him be the starter next year. So
Okay. Anything else we should go over before we wrap this up? It's been about an hour and 15, 20 minutes now. So
no, that's enough. That's enough. I'm good. I really am. I'm happy. Like I know that like I come across as like an unhappy Georgia fan. I'm not. Like I'm cool. I'm happy to be where we're at. I know what's coming. Like I really feel like I know what's coming and I'm just not prepared to let myself get hurt like that. Like I'm not prepared for the emotional fallout that's inevitably going to happen. And so I'm just preparing myself. I'm just giving myself a dose of reality in this time. Like yeah, like my teams have never won anything in life. Like they've never won anything. What makes me think that now, after 20, I've been alive for 27 years, but now Georgia's going to win a title? Like what makes me think that? Nothing. I have nothing to base that on. So yeah, like until they prove me otherwise, like I am going to doubt them. Sure, I'm going to doubt them, and I'm going to be ecstatic. By the way, if they win, like I will be swinging from a chandelier. Yes, like it's going to be incredible. Probably won't sleep that night if they win. Monday night could be an incredible night, or like I'll just go to bed early and start drinking or something. I don't know what I'll do.
it is interesting the dynamic of Georgia fans.
You have
I
no
know
idea.
quite
You have no
quite a
idea.
few. My
Yeah.
wife is one, and I know I was with her whole family the last week, and a lot of her friends and stuff.
How did they take it? How do they take it?
They are all almost exactly like you,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
where it's all like they're so thrilled about their Georgia Bulldogs. They love their Georgia Bulldogs, but like they aren't going to believe anything good until it actually happens. Like they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like that's the whole Georgia fan experience, the way it looks.
Yeah. That's yeah. No.
By the way,
that's
it's
right.
it's very. I think it's unique. Like I don't know what to even compare that to. I'm a Cubs fan. I have been my whole life.
Yeah.
And like 2016, I don't remember Cubs fans going to the World Series like, oh, we're gonna blow this. I just know we're gonna blow this. Like I
You
don't know.
don't remember that? You say that didn't happen?
There was some of that, but I think people were generally like just thrilled that it's a little different because the Cubs have been so bad for so long. We were
Right.
thrilled to be in the World Series and we saw a bright future ahead. So like it was a little bit like we were playing with house money at that point. So I guess
Right.
that's what's different is Georgia.
Right.
Georgia, it's championship or bust. So
It is. I think it's more than that too. I think Georgia fans have taken it in the teeth for so long and been made fun of publicly, like just pretty much humiliated regularly. Like every year, they just get humiliated, and everyone laughs at them. Like everyone does. Like the media laughs at them. They don't get Georgia as a program gets very little national respect. Like they don't get the benefit of the doubt nationally, like from a media standpoint. And I think maybe that buoys it a little bit. Like Georgia fans are just like they accept like if we lose like yeah we're just going to go into a hole and not go we're not going to crawl out for 2 months because it's just going to be just unbearable from everybody. Like yeah, it's just going to be awful if we lose. It just really is. It's going to be absolutely awful if we lose, and like we always kind of feel like we're going to lose because we've never had a reason. No season for Georgia has not ended in disappointment. Like in my lifetime, I've always been disappointed at the end of the year. That's just how it is. Like I saw, yeah. Like why do I think it would change now? Like I don't know. I do think. I mean, this is probably the best team in my lifetime. I think that this Georgia team is the best team in my lifetime. And you're right. Like maybe if we change the offense, like maybe there is a future for us with Saban still there. Maybe like And Kirby is a ruthless recruiter. Like, by the way, like he promises these 5-star kids, like, hey, yeah, come here. But like, then he just goes and gets like 3 more 5-star quarterbacks too. Like, if Caleb Williams comes and JT stays for another year, Georgia would have 4 5-star quarterbacks on the roster, 4 of them. But they'd probably still play the walk on. But like they'd have 4 5-star quarterbacks on the roster, and like that's absolutely ridiculous, dude. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy, and like that's what you have to win titles. Like I really believe that. I just, yeah, like I don't know. You're going up against the greatest of all time, and like he's the greatest of all time. Like why didn't Peyton Manning win more Super Bowls? Like he had to go through Tom Brady, didn't he? Like imagine what Peyton Manning would be if he didn't have Tom Brady in that division. Like he would have how many Super Bowls would he have? Like he'd have a bunch more. But like we remember him so differently because he had to go through Tom Brady, and Tom is just slightly better. Like they're both elite. But Tom, it was always just a little bit better, or had a better team, or a better coach, whatever it was. History will remember Tom Brady as the greatest player to ever play the game, ever, maybe any sport. And like Kirby's like Peyton. Kirby's like the other guy. Kirby's the other guy, the guy who's right there. And like maybe sometimes maybe he might win one, maybe, but like it's a struggle, man. It is an absolute struggle.
Peyton Manning actually went 3-2 against Tom Brady in the playoffs.
Yes, but okay.
I would say that the rest of his defense is what was the big
coaching staff. I would say coaching staff. You see what Belichick is doing with Mac Jones there this year.
Manning went to 4 Super Bowls with 4 different head coaches.
He did. What did he won? He won 2?
2, yeah.
He won 2. He lost one with the Broncos and one with the Colts against the Saints. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's kind of what Kirby is for me, maybe a little bit. Like he's the one that, like he's just almost there. He's almost there.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. If not this year, soon.
I don't
want to hear it. You don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear that as rat poison, and I do not accept that. By the way, like Georgia fans need to go to all the Georgia players this year. If you are on campus in Athens, go to all of the Georgia players and tell them they have no chance of winning. Tell them they have no chance. I don't understand. Like coaches actually say this. Like yeah, Kirby said it the other day. Well, like. Everyone told us that like, oh, we're just gonna win. Who told you were going to beat Alabama the first time? Who? Like, I want to know their names because like, you never have. None of these guys have ever beaten Alabama. Like, nor even been close. Like, I don't understand where this confidence is coming from that like we're gonna beat them this year. I don't like that confidence. I disown that.
Well, you were talking about the media not quite respecting Georgia. I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast, their reaction to the semifinal games.
They're the worst. They're the worst. I do not like them.
Bud Elliott is really good. I like him a lot.
He is. Cannell sucks. Danny Cannell sucks. And whoever
Cannell was not even on this podcast I was listening to, but Bud Elliott and Tom Fornelli both picked Georgia in the title game. Chip Patterson went with Alabama. So 2 of the 3 went with Georgia. Just something
rat poison. About. It's rat poison. We need them to all pick Alabama. It is rat poison at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can't think of a better way to end the podcast than that. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, I guess we'll see you guys all after the title game.
Tuesday.
Probably Tuesday night we'll record a reaction pod to the title game.
Oh my.
So
woof.
Hey, you're in the national title game.
I'm happy. I'm happy. Yeah, we have a shot. Like, I mean, it could happen. Like, it
could happen.
Bryce Young could fumble the ball or something. Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the refs will be on our side this time. Like, they won't, but like, the possibility it could happen.
Oh man. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Have a great week and God bless.